Okay, so what services do you provide from the store?
Well, besides all of the products that we have in the store, we've got so many different kinds of spells. We've got candles, charm bags, jewelry, herbs, really anything that you need to put a spell together from beginning to end, which we explain that to every person. We don't expect people to have that knowledge when they come in. Basically, people come in and they tell me what their issue is, and then we decide what kind of a spell they're going to do, and then I give them the products to do it and explain exactly how to do it. So that's one service in combination with the products. One of the other services that we provide are tarot readings. We've got some really great psychic tarot readers. We also do astrology charts, and we also have classes. We have classes just about every month.
Can you elaborate on the spells? What would be your opinion of like what a spell is, its essence?
A spell is basically taking objects, physical objects, that are in energetic alignment with what your will is that you want to accomplish. Let's say you want to do a money spell. You might want to take a green candle or a gold candle and some money drawing oil and a magnet and some herbs that are good for attracting money and wealth.
And you would do what with them?
Well, I would explain to the person what day, what hour, how to anoint the candle, which herbs to use, how to use them. I give them the incense to use and tell them how to burn that and where and how to place everything when they're setting up, how to do the spell. Basically everything in detail from beginning to end, so that they feel totally comfortable that they can go do it on their own. It's really easy.
So aside from a money spell, what other spells do the typical customer would ask for?
The spells I get requests for the most often are obviously money, love spells, love and money mostly, a lot of cleansing spells, spells for psychic protection, spells to banish negative energy or a negative person from someone's life. Those are the main ones.
Now, with love spells, typically the norm of a rule would not to be performing love spells per se. What is your opinion on that?
Why not? Why wouldn't you perform a love spell? I think you should do whatever you want to do as long as it's not harming somebody else. And technically, you really shouldn't be interfering with somebody else's free will, but people do it all the time. I mean, if they tell you they're not going to do it, they're going to do it. So I just try to let them know from an ethical standpoint that if you're doing a love spell on a specific person, what you should do instead is make a list of all the attributes that you want in a person. It can be 10 pages long. It should be very detailed. And when you're doing your spell, say if this guy, Joe, has all of these things or has most of these things, then let him be the guy. If not, bring me the other person. Because otherwise you're just going to end up karmically blocking yourself and spending a lot of time with the person you're not really supposed to be with. So there's ethics involved, and I explain all of that based on each individual spell, because each spell is customized to the person coming in.
Now, looking around your store, I see a lot of symbols drawn on the ground and on the walls. Could you give us an example of what that would mean? What each one, like below me right now, is a pentagram.
Well, the pentagram is the most familiar symbol. Basically, those 5 points you see there symbolize the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, water, and the top point is the soul or the spirit. So it's a symbol that's used for magic. It's very positive. It can be used for healing, really just about anything.
Now, traditionally, people have a negative view on such a pentagram. What would you say to those people?
They just don't know any better. And that comes from the church. Negative propaganda.
There's also other symbols. There's one that looks like a moon.
That's a symbol of the goddess. That's called a triple moon. And that has a full moon and then a waxing and a waning crescent on each side. That just symbolizes the phases of the moon, which are in alignment with the phases of a woman's life.
So why is the walls purple?
Purple is a very spiritual color. It's probably the most spiritual of all colors, whether people are aware of it or if it's more of an unconscious thing. It just feels like the right color for a spiritual store. I mean, imagine if it was red or pink or green. I mean, green, that's more of a healing color. If I had a healing center, it would be green.
So where, if someone was interested in learning about witchcraft, paganism, would they go? Would you suggest that they go to learn about it?
You mean besides my store?
Yeah, besides your store.
Well, come to our classes, for one thing, and the best way to learn is by practicing. Because you can read a lot of books, but eventually you're going to have to try something. Because you don't read about driving your car, you actually have to get in and drive it to learn how to drive it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same kind of thing. You need practical knowledge as well as book knowledge. And spiritual knowledge. It's a long path, and those that are interested stick to it. And you can start with books or on the internet, going to classes, trying stuff out yourself.
Did you start with books when you were starting with witchcraft?
I guess I did. For me, I did things naturally, not everything, but I did a lot of things that were already witchcraft. I just didn't know they were witchcraft until I started reading books. So yes, I've spent my life and will continue furthering my education and getting as much information and experience and knowledge as I can.
What would you say would be a really good book for someone who's just getting into it to learn?
Oh, there's so many good books. Anything by Scott Cunningham or Dorothy Morrison or Christopher Penczak, Phyllis Karat. Those are all really good modern writers.
What would you suggest would be a good starter spell for someone if they're just learning?
Probably the jars. The jars are over here because they're already dressed with oil and crystal and herbs. It's got everything kind of contained for a spell, so that's easy.
When you say jar, what do you mean?
I mean these. Money jar. It's got the green wax. It's got the oils in there, so it smells really good. It has the herbs in it as well, and the crystal. So you don't really need anything else, just the jar.
Now, do you make these or do you buy them from someone?
I make them.
You make them all yourself?
Mm-hmm.
What got you into making candles?
Because I didn't feel there were any good candles out there, so I started making them. So this is my version of a novena. You know those long skinny candles.
Mm-hmm.
This is my version. Because the long skinny ones are really hard to relight.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're to reach down there to relight it, it's nearly impossible, and they crack. They get really hot and crack, and the quality of the wax is cheap. They're paraffin, mine are soy.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you sell that you find very interesting or exotic or just different that an average person wouldn't normally find in a store?
I'd say 90% of the stuff in here, yeah. That's a hard question because for me, what's normal might be strange and unusual to the next person.
I noticed over here you have, what would you call these?
These are wands.
What would you use a wand for?
These wands are all handmade. People use them for rituals for healing or money or whatever it is that they're doing a ritual for. Well, we've got two interesting things in here. This is a little fairy altar, and people come and give small offerings for the fairies here. So this has become sort of a living, breathing thing. And what I do is I will take the money and give it to the animal rescue shelter, and if it's something that isn't, it's not money, I will take them and bury them in the garden as an offering for the fairies. And then the other interesting thing I have is my Manifestation Pentagram, which I'll show you that. Okay. This is the Manifestation Pentagram. And what I have here is chalk that I've consecrated in ceremony. It looks really ordinary, but it's consecrated.
Can you do a picture?
And so what I'll do is, if I want to manifest something, or if anybody wants to manifest something, they can take a piece of chalk and they can write it in here.
And what would that do?
It helps manifest whatever it is that you wrote in there. Mm-hmm. And when people are walking all over it, it kind of carries it symbolically, carries it through the world.
Would you say symbology plays a high part in witchcraft and paganism?
Yes.
The journey that from learning at it as a young child to opening a store and giving to the public experiences that you've experienced and beliefs that you hold dear. Would you say that you feel that you've accomplished that and are accomplishing it?
It's a work in progress, and obviously all those things are part of it. It's hard to look at it objectively because it's my life and I've only had the one, so it's hard to like dissect it and say, well, it's this, that, and that, because everybody's on their own journey.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having us in your store.
No problem.